Hey guys, so as promised, here I am with the level 1 full Twink guide. I'm gonna try to give you as much information as possible if you want a PvP on a level 1, and you decide how far you want to take it. So let's jump straight into it. Right, so let's start to understand which race and class is the best for this. The Rogue is by far the better one. It has both Sinister Strike and Eviscerate at level 1, which are very effective. And Sinister Strike, being spammable, allows for more chances of fiery weapon procs. And also agility scales amazing with rogues, as you get 0.43% crit chance and 0.87% dodge chance per agility point. It's also the only class that can get an enchant on a headpiece because you can get a Defiance mask. Hunters and warriors are just too slow, and casters have a very high resist chance if you're firing spells at higher level targets. So that leaves us with just rogues. Now let's go over the races. So here in the spreadsheet you can find all the difference between the races, and by the way you can find the spreadsheet in the link in the description down below. If you're playing Alliance, I will just recommend going Gnome, the reason being Escape Artist. Escape Artist is a very useful ability that's gonna help you a lot against Frostbolt and concussive shots, and if you're playing Endurator, it's also gonna be very useful against really sticky glue, which is an item that's gonna trap you, which a lot of people are gonna have because it's a quest reward. But if you really hate gnomes, Night Elves are still playable because they have very high agility. Dwarves and humans not so much, I will not recommend playing them, also their ratios are not very good. And as we said before guys, at level 1 each point of agility is very important, that even a 5-point difference is huge. But if you instead want to play Horde, I would recommend going Troll or Undead, because Orc's agility is just way too low and the ratios don't make up for it, especially because nobody's gonna have stun at lower levels. While Troll has high base agility and also Berserking, which is gonna increase your attack speed. Undead is also very good, because he has Will of the Forsaken, which is gonna break fears. So obviously, if you're facing Warlocks, you're always gonna wish you were Undead. But the reason why I went Troll when I played Horde is because I felt like having an advantage versus all the other classes was better than just having an advantage versus one class. So it's more like a preference. The first thing we're going to do when we log in is to take a portal to the city where we can train the bow weapon skill. It's going to be Darnassus for Alliance and Orgrimmar for Horde. The reason for taking portals is that you can't really run around as you risk leveling up with exploration XP, and that's the trickiest part about level 1 twinking, as you can't turn off XP in classic WoW. You are going to earn 45 or 55 experience depending on what you're exploring. Main cities are 55, small villages like Goldshire are 45. And it kind of varies on all the other discovers, and I can't really tell the exact difference. The starting zones like Northshire Abbey don't give you any XP upon exploration. Keep that in mind, and that means we have about 7 or 8 discovers, and if you're playing Alliance and you wanna go get the Onyx buff in Stormwind, that's gonna be an extra discover compared to Horde, which can just stay in Orgrimmar. The first thing we're going to do after training our bows is going to be leveling First Aid. I sent myself some bags and all the necessary clothes to level First Aid up to 225. I also set myself a quiver because we're gonna use arrows and we're going full min max, so why not increase the ranged attack speed by 10%. So many people don't know that this profession has no level requirements, you just need to buy the books and you're all set. Once you get to 225, that's all the skill level you need in order to use the heavy runecloth bandages. Now let's go over the best in slot gear you can get at level 1. The easiest pieces are definitely the crack leather vest, pants and bracers that you can just buy from the starting zone armor vendor. For the Horde it's going to be a dirty leather vest, pants and bracers. Then we have the Squiller's belt, which we can find in Mulgar by the Torrent starting zone by killing Squiller's Thorn Mantle with 100% drop rate. The next easy to get items are Linen Cloak, which you can just craft as a beginner tailor, and Goblin Rocket Boots, which you can just buy off the auction house. I always recommend buying at least 3 pairs because they might break, and if you're unlucky that they break soon, you don't want to be forced to go back to the city to replace them. Now we have the tricky items. These require a little bit of farming as they are random drops from mobs between level 5 and 10. Simple Dagger, Cadet's Bow and Worn Leather Gloves. As Alliance, I farmed those in the Cobalt Mines in Evelyn Forest and as a Horde in Mulgar, but you can pick whatever spot you want if you just take a look at Wowhead. You can also try to spam the general chat of the starting zones and maybe you could find someone with those items willing to sell them. As Alliance, there is a replacement for Simple Dagger. I mean, you can also get it as Horde, but it's a bit tricky to get there. If you really can't drop the Simple Dagger in Teldrassil, you can kill a rail mob called Thragil inside the Fellrock Cave, and he has a 100% drop rate for the Keen Machete. The downside is that it's bind on equipment, so you can't pass it on another level one. On the upside though, it looks way cooler than the dagger. It has the same stats as the dagger, but you have to keep in mind it's a sword, so you have to go to Stormwind to the weapon trainer to train the sword skill. The arrows that we're gonna use for the bow are the feathered arrows. They are a reward from a quest chain in Desolace and are green and have no level requirements. The first quest is either Strange Alliance or Gelkis Alliance as Horde, and it requires to get friendly reputation with the Gelkis clan. You have to kill some Margram centers and then you can start the chain. You're gonna do 2 more quests, and Stealing Supplies is the quest you wanna complete in order to get the arrows. Keep in mind that you can do this quest only once per character. Now guys, it's time for the big boys items. Red Defias Mask and Full Box Medicine Pouch. To get the mask, you need to be summoned to Westfall in this area so that you won't explore anything, saving you exploration experience. Once you're there, make sure you die, then you will get back there as a ghost, but don't rest. Your friends need to kill the Defias bandits until the mask drops. Keep free for all as a loot rule, and once it drops, you can just rest and take it. The reason why we stay death is because we want to avoid all the killing experience. And now for the Full Box Pouch. As a rogue, you can't dual wield until level 10, so you have an open space for an Eldin Offend, and this is the best one you can get. You can't use the effect as it's level gated, but it gives you 10 stamina, which is still a lot. To get this, get summoned to the north of Felwood at the Fullbox Cave. Have your party members get aggro on a Timbermaw Fullbog and try to hit it before they kill it. Once it dies, it will unlock the Timbermaw Hold reputation for you. At this point, you're gonna go back to the Felpo village and just stay death or the whole time while following your friend. You will get 5 reputation per kill and will get no experience. Do this until you get to Honored. It's gonna take a while guys to get this done. I think if I remember correctly it took me about 15 hours. But it also depends on how many people you find who are willing to help you or how many people you are willing to pay. So it kinda depends on how committed you are. Once honored, just go back to the cave and buy the pouch from Gorn One Eye for 13 gold. The last useful item you can get is the Insignia of the Alliance, which I still don't have it myself as I need to farm more honor, but it's very doable as you only need to get up to rank 2 and up to rank 3 there is no level requirement. Now that we have all the gear, let's discuss enchants. Some are based on preference, but let me talk first about the ones you wanna get for sure. 3 agility on cloak, 15 agility on gloves, now available thanks to Ankirai, 9 stamina on bracers, +1 scope on the bow, +8 agility on the pants, and to get that you need to give the following items to Mathrid Firestar in the Burning Steps, that you can find him at coordinates 6523. You basically need to complete the Libram of Veracity quest and then choose agility. For some reason this enchant doesn't work on the mask, but the enchants in Dire Maul work, which means we can get +1% attack speed with the Libram of Rapidity. You need to find someone with Blood of Heroes that can complete the quest for you, since the mask is soulbound, and then they will be able to enchant your mask through the trade window. The following enchants are instead more based on preference. I use 100 health on the chest, but +4 all stat is also very good. It depends on how tanky you want your Twink to be, especially if you have the full book pouch, it's okay to sacrifice some HP. For example, I use 7 stamina on the boots, but 7 agility will also be pretty good. The weapon enchant is a bit tricky. I use Fiery Weapon because after some testing I realized that it's the most efficient one and the one with the most procs. Life Stealing has a very low proc chance and I didn't find it useful at all. Crusader can be okay, but it also has a low proc chance compared to Fiery Weapon. But what you can do is have 2 weapons with both Crusader and Fiery, and once Crusader procs, you can switch the other. I prefer to just use Fiery as it's 40 damage that happens quite often. There's also 15 agility, but it's not worth the damage loss from Fiery Weapon. We are almost at the end guys. The last thing we have to talk about is consumables. Here is the list of consumables you can use at level 1. The rockets can be a bit tricky for Horde to find, since it's an Alliance quest, level 3 quest by the way, but Alliance can find them pretty often in the auction house, and they're a very strong AoE and ranged instant damage item. Magic Candle could also be used in exchange. It's a single target and does less damage, but it has more range, and they both share the cooldown. The Viat fish is definitely one of the strongest ones. Here you can read all the effects that you can get by eating it. The reason why it's so good is because of the 400 average heal from Invigorate. The negatives are not too bad, so it's worth it to spam it until you get the heal, and he only has a 10-second cooldown. And even if you get the sleepy effect in the middle of the fight, it doesn't matter because damage breaks it. And now get your backs completely filled and let's go. You can just be a dwelling Twink. If so, I would recommend doing it in Sentinel heal if you're Alliance, because Goldshy would be way too easy, and Crossroads for the Horde. Or you can go and PvP in the lower level zones. Make sure you get summoned over there and try to find your spot, as you don't want to run around and explore too much. The hardest part about going to higher level zone is definitely the mobs. You will aggro a lot, but I think a complete level 1 Twink has a fair chance against level 20s. I really hope this guide was interesting for you guys. If you have any more questions, feel free to let me know, and if you enjoy, subscribe. Thank you guys, and see you in the next one.
I'll miss you.